Welcome to My Money Mindset podcast, where we explore how a healthy mindset is the foundation for financial success. Each week, we delve into mindset hacks and practical strategies to help you enhance your income, help you make more appropriate investments for yourself, and to improve your overall financial well-being. Join us on this journey to transform your financial future by transforming your mindset. Please note that the information provided on this podcast is for general information purposes only and does not constitute as personal, financial or health advice. It has been prepared without considering your individual objectives, financial situation or life needs. Before making any financial or health decisions, you should consult with a qualified professional or financial advisor to ensure the information aligns with your specific circumstances. So let's begin and enjoy this journey as each episode teaches us on how to improve our overall mindset that overall improves our financial success. Hello everyone and welcome to another Money Mindset podcast. I'm here to it's a bit of a segue episode this. From my last episode, it was more about how we can find true contentment in life or making money faster or the splice of in between, somewhere in the middle to find our true passion with careers and making money. This episode is probably the next chapter 2 of that one, which works out about true values and how to find our true values in life and assimilate to our overall financial or well-being or health in life. So it's pretty much finding about your individual values, what's important to you in life, and approaching life and making a fulfilled life through your career or money-making strategies, and somehow finding a happiness or a contentment somewhere in the middle, right? So this episode, like I keep harping on about it again, but the other episode that I did do in regards to pursuing money making or career interests and your passion and stuff like that, that'll be a good one to listen to before this. But if not, you can do it the other way around. True values is something that, understanding your true values is a powerful step towards aligning your career, your financial choices and overall well-being, right? So it's when your actions reflect what genuinely matters to you, you'll experience greater fulfillment. So everything that you do in life will create a greater fulfillment. If you are really passionate about what you're doing, you'll have less internal conflict and a deeper sense of purpose. I always believe that when you are, and this I'm assimilating and preempting it towards your career or your job or your business or your family life or your relationships, your investment side of things, your money making ideals, that sort of thing. But your actions reflect on what genuinely matters to you, right? So what I wanted to do is break it down into a comprehensive approach to finding your values. So often in these episodes, you want to be self-reflecting a little bit about yourself and integrating them into your financial and well-being, as in health and that sort of stuff. So it's not always about financial health. It's also about physical and mental health, that sort of stuff, and finding that balance between all three of them, right? So number one would be probably to start the episode is how would we find your true values as a person? So values are your fundamental ideals or beliefs or your principles that guide your decisions and actions. Yeah. So if your values are to do the best unto others, then obviously, and that's your belief or your principle in life, that's the where you want to make sure that your actions go, right? They're often implicit, but so the goal is to make them explicit. So make sure that what's inside comes out. The way you could probably do that is to reflect on peak experience about what you've experienced in life. So think about times in your life when you've felt truly happy or proud or fulfilled, that sort of things. What were you doing? Who were you with? What the factors contribute to those feelings? For example, if you felt happiness whilst volunteering, which quite often happens quite a bit, I know I do, volunteering perhaps like a service for a community is a core value. If you were proud of creating a project, creativity or achievement, might be one of those values, right? So volunteering, you're doing a service, or it's a community things, you were there at the time, you really felt proud about it, then that would ultimately be one of your true values, right? So, and that is to help. So you want to sort of also find out the good times when you're feeling good, or when think about the times when you really truly felt happy and proud or fulfilled. But you also want to make sure, think about the times when you were felt angry and frustrated or deeply upset. What value was being violated or suppressed in that situation? See, in that way you can sort of bounce the ideas around, where you've really felt really good and where you really felt disappointed or really bad. For instance, if you were lied to and it made you angry, honesty is a core value, right? It's simple, that one. Someone lies to you, it really makes you feel bad. Honesty is the way you want to pursue that's your value. Honesty is a value, right? If feeling controlled frustrates you, autonomy or freedom might be important, that sort of thing. So these are your true values. Yeah, and they're your true values. I mean, everyone puts their hand up and go, look, my values are to treat other people the same way I want to be treated, but then their actions are somewhat different. If you self-reflect on that and you say, look, I sort of slipped up there, what are my true values? I'm lying to people. Does it make you feel bad? And some people go, no, not at all. Well, that's your values. You're not really considerate for other people. And those of you who know me, it's all about other people. The first thing you should be considering in my way of life or ethos in life, and it goes for your career or money making or anything like that, is not to worry about yourself, is to worry about other people, simply because the community you create around you immediately are the ones that are going to make you happier. And you're not doing it just to be happy. You're doing it because you're expressing the true values, the deep values of who you are deep down, and you really want to be able to reflect them onto others and share your happiness, right? Values are what creates that contentment in life. And you've got to identify your admirations. I mean, who do you admire most in your life? Think about, are they living or historical figures? Who do you look up to as like a hero, that sort of thing? What qualities do you respect in the people that you sort of admire in that sense? What traits you admire in others often reflect your own core values. And if you turned up and said, look, I really admire this, that, and the other about the person, you may find that if you admire that, that's probably one of your deep core values. And it's often sad, but this sort of point says, imagine your ideal life or funeral, ideal environment. And it sounds morbid, but I'll get to the point what I'm getting along with. But what does your ideal week or day or a life look like to you? What activities are you doing when you reflect upon your life? Who are you with? What emotions are you experiencing? That sort of thing can reveal underlying values like peace, adventure, connection, learning, that sort of stuff. Funeral exercises, adapting from acceptance to commitment therapy is what they call it. I think it's abbreviated as ACT or something like that. So that what they say is adapted from acceptance to commitment therapy. Imagine your own funeral, as in a hypothetical one, of course. And it sounds morbid in a Western sense, but there are some cultures out there, many cultures out there that actually live life through the concept of death. And what that means is when they understand that there is an end to our life, they actually start living. And imagine your own funeral, as they say. What would you want people to say about you? That's what would sort of conjure up those thoughts and feelings. What are they going to say about me? What kind of person do you want to be remembered as? This uncovers deep-seated values about legacy, relationships, impact, character, that sort of stuff. And deep down, you dig into these little nuggets that you find into your own life and go, gee whiz, I often thought about that. I do know that my values are X, Y, Z, but I'd never really implemented and put them into play. The more that you implement your values into life, the more that you'll get out of your values, and they'll reflect back to you. So it's that karma again that's coming back to you, right? reviewing a values list, look at the comprehensive list of values that I've sort of just worked through. So for instance, if it's courage, compassion, security, creativity, honesty, growth, balance, family, contribution, freedom, stability, adventure, learning, integrity, health, that sort of thing. If they're your values, write them down on a board or something like that, right? Highlight every value that resonates with you. Don't overthink it, just literally bang, bang, bang. And then group these values together, as in community, let's say like what I was just rattling off, community and service or altruism, something like that, group under contribution, that sort of thing, right? Group them together. And from those groups, select maybe your top 5 or 10 core values, prioritize them by asking yourself, if you could only choose one of them, which would it be? Right? Sort of force yourself into navigating and be honest with yourself. This is a really great way of open-mindedness, self-reflection, yeah? The forces that you identify with what's most essential in your life with these values. And once you've grouped it down, you'll start to see that there will be a path to where your values are sort of taking you in that sort of thing. And connect it to your money story. Reflect on your earliest money memories, right? So what financial lessons did you learn from your family, both positive and negative experiences? They often shape your current views on money, right? So if you grew up with poverty or riches or that sort of thing, find out what the positive and the negative experiences. Think back, have a bit of a memory exercise there. What past financial behaviors or patterns feel aligned to your sort of authentic self, right? What felt right to you? In other words, that gut instinct that I always talk about, and which really felt like automatic responses or external pressures, that sort of thing. So things that were sort of creating external pressures were really giving you a sort of nudging you in the side and making it all uncomfortable. They're the ones to avoid, as in values, that is. Now we want to assimilate values to an overall financial health, right? So once we've done all that and it's all good and it's all airy-fairy, Mark, and it doesn't really do anything, but we want to put it to fruition and make it sort of important in our financial health, our overall health. Once we've identified your core values, the next crucial step is probably consciously integrate them into your financial decisions, right? This leads to what's often called as values-based financial planning. It's taken me back a few years now, but there is a concept in the mentoring side of things and the counselling side with financial mentors and financial counsellors. It's often regarded as values-based financial planning. We set value-based financial goals. All right. So what I mean by that is, and this is a great concept for all you financial mentors, or often accountants and brokers can implement this in when they're talking to their clients as well. It really helps clients. Example, let's say for instance, security is a top value, right? Feeling secure. A financial goal might be building a robust emergency fund or investing in lower risk assets, meaning that you're really secure in a financial sense. If freedom is your top value, goals might include paying off debt aggressively, making sure that your freedom is gone out of here, saving for an early retirement or building passive income streams, that sort of stuff. Let's say I was talking about community as a value or contribution is a top value. You might want to set goals for charitable giving, impact investing, or supporting local businesses, that sort of stuff. So if you're really into community or making contributions, sharing things is really what you'd be looking for. Let's say, for instance, one of your values or main top value is health, is what I always say, is a top value. Budgeting for gym memberships, nutrition, food, making sure that you're eating all the right foods, right? Often means that your shopping list is going to be more expensive, but that's okay. You're all right with that because your priority is health. Nutrition, food, or wellness retreats, even that, and they can be expensive. But what's more important to you? And these values, what I've just sort of rattled off in my own mind, are somewhat very related to you being overall content, and when you're overall content, you make more money. or you make the right investment decisions, or you've got a clarity about where you're going with your future goals and your money and that sort of implementation of monetary stuff, right? Which it goes on to create a purposeful budget. So when you identify what it costs, what your values are costing you, what they're actually providing you and all that, you create a purposeful budget. Your budget is a direct reflection of your values. Are you spending money on things that genuinely align with what you care about? Sorry, it's a bit of a tongue twister. Genuinely align with what you care about. Now that is something, that's a bit of a soul search, right? But you've got to also understand it, make sure, and I'm always a stickler for the one to say, don't overspend your money if it's got nothing to do with anything that aligns with your true values, right? Prioritize your expenses, allocate more funds to categories that reflect your values. So we rattled off those lists, we wrote them all down, allocate more funds to those categories and prioritize them in a way, right? So let's say, for instance, experience is a value, it's key. Budget for travel or activities. Yeah, simple. So if you want to experience things more in life, so it's not always about the money and the health and you just want to experience, then budget for travel. If education is key, one of the key values, then you budget for courses or books or resources, that sort of stuff. That's where I'm saying to prioritize those expenses and reduce non-value expenses. Yeah, this one's massive because when you cut back on spending that doesn't genuinely contribute to your well-being or align with your values, well, that makes sense, true? If you look at it that way, let's not worry about prioritizing the, let's say the values that do, but if you actually knock off the ones that are a non-value, and those expenses related to the non-value. Now, of course, the first thing that comes to mind you think about is your rates and your taxes and all your fees and things like that. But what I'm saying is the expenses that are controllable, and look, rates may assimilate that. Insurance, your mortgage, pressure test all these things too, yeah? You can reduce it. I mean, often refinance for clients and save a massive amount of money. Then that can actually, that money you save can be placed into the values that make it matter for you. So it can also just come down to making fewer, less impulsive buys when you're at a shop or luxury items. If simplicity or, that sort of thing are high values, let's say simplicity, then cull that. You don't need it. Simplicity is a value of yours and you're really high up there. Why are you buying stuff that you don't really need? That sort of contradiction. Now, practice mindful spending. I always say it and I always endorse it to sort of, before making significant purchases, just pause and ask yourself, does this purchase align with my values? Does it bring me closer to the life that I want to live? This will often help prevent impulsive decisions that make you to sort of lead you to more to buyer's remorse if you don't do these sort of little exercises. How many times many people do go buy stuff and then it sort of doesn't align with their true values? You know where I'm going with it. So engage in ethical and value aligned investing. Let's say, for instance, one of your values is sustainability or social responsibility. I always go back to that. It's quite important. If that's a value, being socially responsible or sustainability, research and choose investments that align with these principles, right? So it could mean that it's socially responsible investing, green funds, that sort of stuff, things that sort of don't damage the environment. There's a lot of that out there, and you just only have to look up different investments that assimilate their key values. Really great investments sometimes. Be aware that aligning investments with specific values can sometimes often limit options though too, yeah. So whilst you are looking, just make sure even short-term impacts, weigh this up against your priorities, right? Make sure that it is aligning to the investments and your specific values, but it comes with a price. Sometimes if your values are truly, you're too committed to your values and you can't find investments that truly commit to that, it can sometimes slow your investment side. So try to get that balance if need be. That can sometimes be a bit of a challenge, but it is achievable. Plan for the future with intention as well. It always assimilates back to your goals. Live today, but assimilate your values to your goals as well. Think about your legacy, what you want to leave. How can your financial plan support that sort of thing, as in your legacy, what you'd think, going back to what I was talking about is in what you'd want people at your funeral to be saying. This might involve sort of a bit of estate planning, setting up foundations or long-term charitable giving. Quite often does incur in a lot of people's legacy. And make sure you sort of review this quite often. I always make sure that my clients they set their goals, they get to their goals, and they often just set and forget, and they don't make any new goals. They get to places and they've achieved financial success, and they're going, oh look, Grace, this is awesome, Mark, thank you. And they keep moving, they keep living, and yada yada yada. And it just means that they sort of just coast along then. But that's not a bad thing, so long as they're living with their values. I mean, purpose is all that matters in the end, but what it means is your values can evolve over time. They sort of, your values as in, it can always evolve or can disappear, you don't know. You want to make sure that you review these as in your values. And your financial situation will certainly change over time because you're improving or it's not improving, whatever it may be doing. A regular review of your financial plan and spending habits to ensure that they remain sort of aligned with your evolving values, that you want to make sure that you assimilate it. They're all on the same sort of path together. Sorry, tongue twister again. Now, let's talk about assimilating values to overall well-being, as in health. So well-being encompasses mental health, physical, emotional, social health, that sort of thing. Aligning your values here creates a deeply fulfilled life, and it all goes back to values and why you are, what you're doing and making money and that sort of thing. So career choices, as discussed, choose a career that aligns with your interests and values, even if it means sacrificing for immediate income. Whatever, you guys are the best. You guys know yourself best as an individual, so follow that. Fulfillment often outweighs pure financial gain in the long run for well-being anyway, that's for sure. If your current job doesn't align, look for ways to incorporate your values into your job by volunteering for a company, initiative, mentoring, that sort of stuff. Often does that, does wonders, mentoring. Take it from me. But time allocation is another big one. How do you spend your time? Does it reflect your values? If connection is a key for values, prioritize spending time with loved ones. You want to connect with people, make sure you spend the time into spending time with loved ones. If growth is a value, dedicate time to learning more skills. Schedule activities that align with your values. Now, the other one I really love talking about, but I won't get into it overall, but I'll touch on it, is relationships. Nurture relationships with people who share or respect your values. That's key, guys. That one is probably the most important, simply because we're not alone on earth. And relationships, whether they're friendships, people at work, loved ones, that sort of stuff, I mean, that's everything. Nurture these relationships with people who share and respect your values. Why? Because it bounces back. Like I said, I'm not going to get too involved with it, but so massive, it's so important. These connections, they provide support, right, and enhance your sense of belonging when you are sort of nurturing these relationships with people who share and respect your values. It's awesome. Let's say, for instance, and I'll go on to say, if honesty is a value, ensure your communication in relationships reflects that, right? I mean, that is gold. If you are honest in your relationship, I'll say that again. If you are honest, if honesty is your value and you are honest in your relationship, goes miles. If anything, honesty is probably one of the most important values to have in life in general too, right? Now, the other thing, self-care, physical and mental health, massive, right? I mean, if your value is honesty, but you don't have your mental health or physical health, hey, things start falling off, right? So foundations for well-being are obviously physical and mental health, massive. If health is a value, which it should be, and you know me, I knock on it every time, prioritize nutrition, eating, exercises. Make sure you guys are sleeping as well. Don't disregard sleep. Massive important stuff. Don't think that you can exercise to the end of the world and not need sleep. There's a balance, guys. Stress management techniques, that sort of things. Go get a bit of meditation involved in your life. Learn to relax. Eat the right stuff. It's not always about being a gym junkie or anything like that. It's about actually finding a balance, true contentment with peace, meditation, good food. Your gut biome or your gut health is massive, that sort of thing, your blood, your heart, everything. Now, also, if peace or mindfulness is a value, now that we're touching on that, you can incorporate practices like meditation, yeah? So spending time in nature or quiet reflection, peace and mindfulness, massive amounts of things. I was speaking to a good client of mine, a Japanese guy that sort of said, look, Mark, there's a practice over in Japan, they do it quite often, is the doctors will actually send their patients over to spend time in the forest 1 day, 2 days, 3 days at a time. It's getting in touch with nature. They find mindfulness when they're not around people, that sort of stuff. So very important for self-care, guys. That's for if your values are into self-care, which they bloody well should be, right? Contribution and purpose sort of just leads me to living values aligned life that often involves contributing to larger things than just yourself. So just don't think that you're the only one here. You're not your own universe, sort of stuff. This could involve working with other people, volunteering, and simply being a positive force in your community. Yeah, just getting out there and engaging. Finds that sense of purpose. Sense of purpose is a huge contributor to well-being. I'm a firm believer of that. Resilience, which sort of introduces me to resilience, because when you live according to your values, you're more resilient in the face of different challenges that life throws at you. You really are. Knowing what you stand for often helps you navigate difficult decisions and maintain your integrity in all instances. And it's one of those things that I think resilience is just one of those things that should be in your survival kit, in your first aid kit. Yeah, resilience. I need to get over this thing or this issue or this concern, and give it time and a bit of resilience, and you get over most things in life. But look, guys, I hope this episode helps. I'm going to wrap it up by sort of saying, look, by actively identifying your values and consciously weaving them into your financial and lifestyle choices, you sort of will build a life that feels authentic, it's meaningful, it's a genuine fulfillment, and it sort of leads you to that holistic well-being. Well-being is where I sort of really wanted to go with this episode, because well-being is ultimately the core value of making financial success and financial decisions, better financial decisions by all means, finding out what your true values are. And I really hope that this sort of episode, if it sort of does, it is long-winded and there's a lot of information, but there are some nuggets that you can probably find out of this episode. Go back and listen to it time and time again. It may assimilate, it's like a good movie. You often find if you watch it 3 or 4 times, that you get different ideas from the movie or things like that. You pick up different stuff, right? And the same thing goes for this episode, because there is a lot of information in there, and if there's just one thing that helps you understand and help you with these ideas and values and implementing it to a better overall mental sort of overall well-being, and trying to find that true holistic well-being, then I hope it helps, guys. Please let me know if there's anything else that I could have added to this episode, and always happy to share, and see you on the next episode, guys. Thank you. All the best.